everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Absolute Comics. I am Sal. I'm joined today by Dan. Benny is ill, but he'll be back next time. And you should watch out. Give him some well wishes if you can. This episode is sponsored by Gamer Supps. You want to drink something like that gives you energy and isn't as chalky as its competitors, so I'm told? Put it in your thing. There's a cup that you can buy, and hey, if you use a code, it's in the description down below. You can use that, and it'll save you money on that cup. And those cups have women on them. The women are doing all kinds of stuff. Check them out. Gamer Supps. Use the promo code comics at checkout, probably, and
Yep.
you will save yourself some dough on that Gamer Sup. It is like an energy drink, but it's yummy.
I love your ad reads so much.
I don't do them for a reason. It's I'm sure they appreciate it. They're like, damn it. Yeah. Hey, we got a lot of topics to talk about. Of course, this is about comic books, but Dan and I were very busy today, so we didn't actually read any new books today. So let's just jump into the topics.
Let's do it.
Right? Here we go. First up, Dan Slott announces the return of Superior Spider-Man as a comic book. Not much information has been revealed, but it's exciting, according to Dan, to see what the Superior Spider-Man will have in store for us this time around. Yeah, it's about time. It's actually long past time. In fact, one might say it's past the expiration date. But here we are. Dan Slott, my guess is, where do you think this is coming from? I mean,
So I have a feeling it's probably something to do with the facts that he has, I believe it was Dan Slott, that finished end of Spider-Verse. Like Spider-Verse is done.
yes.
So I'm wondering if this is going to be potentially a different universe, or if it's going to be a different universe, Doc Ock coming to this universe. Maybe something along those lines. Either way, I was a huge fan of Superior Spider-Man, as well as when he did the Superior Octopus, is what I think he called himself.
He was the worst name ever.
Terrible name.
Terrible. I didn't even mind the design, but just Superior Octopus?
Yeah.
More superior than what? Regular octopi?
He's like, I'm better than I used to be, so I am now superior.
The thinner. Congratulations.
But I'm excited for it. I think this has some good potential, and I'm a fan of Spider-Man.
Right.
But I'm excited to have something Spider-Man adjacent instead of an adjacent Spider-Man comic where you're going, okay, which one is like the main one I'm supposed to be reading right now? Because we've got the Amazing Spider-Man and we've got Spider-Man.
Yep.
And I don't know which ones. I don't even know if they're both technically in continuity or where they are compared to each other in the timeline. Because
I will help you. They are in continuity.
Okay.
But they do not rely on each other. I believe that the Gold Goblin is appearing in the next issue, like the issue that drops tomorrow as of the recording of this episode. He appears in that. So it's like, and the costume that he gets, that he wore in the Zeb Wells run, carries over into the adjectiveless Spider-Man series. But it's also, I guarantee you that like Slott and Wells don't work together on this. There's no like coordination, as there doesn't need to be. It's just another book. It's an alternative for you, but it is in continuity and it is about Peter Parker, presumably.
Right. I've never had a problem with like two books going on side by side until they try and make both, or until they need that character in a different event or a different book, because then you go and read that one and you're like, okay, which one is this? Is it the one that you've made me hate, or is it the one that just saved people? Like, well, then now has a new sidekick that swung off and no one knows if we'll ever see him again.
Oh, he'll be in the next issue. No. Dan Slott invented Spider-Boy and he's like, we're using him. No, in the preview for the next issue, Spider-Boy is in it.
Okay, good.
It is straight up Spider-Boy will never go away. Like, Dan Slott created him, and as long as Dan Slott is writing Spider-Man in any regard, Spider-Boy will be in the book, because he stands to cash in substantially if any Spider media decides to adapt him. Now, my guess would be if Dan Slott's taken over Superior, he'll probably bring Spider-Boy on as a sidekick.
Oh, yeah. That would be kind of cool.
I mean, the canon for Spider-Boy, according to the one issue he was in, is that he has been around forever, and he's the only one who remembers it due to the
Mhm.
web of life and nonsense. So if he's resentful and angry at like the true Spider people for forgetting him, then why not go work with the superior Spider-Man?
Yeah.
You know, and I can imagine Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock being like, "Now that I'm back and I'm thin again, I want to really stick it to Peter. And why not steal his forgotten protege?"
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's Dan Slott, so he stands to succeed the most from like more exposure of Spider Boy. So I can see this being like
Right.
a twofer. But like for me, and I've always said this, like when Superior Spider-Man, the first series, because this would be technically the third Superior Spider-Man series,
Mhm.
when the first Superior Spider-Man ended, um, I imagine that back then Dan Slott loved Peter Parker, same way that he showed how much he loved Peter Parker from Big Time onwards, hell, from New Ways to Die onwards. And the dude was like, I want Superior Spider-Man the book to kind of echo this idea that Doc thinks he is the superior Spider-Man, but in reality, Peter Parker is the superior Spider-Man. And that's like
Right.
poetically what happens throughout the book. Spoilers for folks who haven't read it yet, but Peter Parker comes back. And, but market wise, you know, money wise, in the tenure of that run, they built up an audience of people who like Doc Ock as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the book was selling as good as Amazing Spider-Man because it replaced Amazing Spider-Man. If you relaunch Amazing Spider-Man, which of course they did, you're going to get an influx of readership just from it being number one. Marvel is infamous for this.
Yeah.
What they should have done was relaunched Amazing Spider-Man and also continued Superior Spider-Man. Look, there's no shortage of books that feature a titular character dying and that book continuing until that character's return from the dead. Doc Ock could have had that. If Superior Spider-Man was a book about just Anna Maria and the life he left behind, maybe Doc Ock in the living brain or wherever, finding his way to getting back to life, that would have been how you keep Superior Spider-Man going and keep that audience, that new audience you birthed out of nothing
Right.
and kept that book going. You could have two Spider books that both sell 100,000 copies a month. How amazing would that have been? Instead, they kill him. They ended the book. Fine. But as I recall, the relaunch for Amazing Spider-Man was softer than they expected.
Oh.
And it it resulted in the Parker Industries era, which like nobody has reverence for. Then they brought back Superior Spider-Man. And it's like, what, they left, man. They left. And that's proven in the sales. The book just didn't sell as well as it did at its height
Mhm.
in its previous iteration. So it's like you're too little too late twice over now, especially because they've gone, they being Marvel and Spider Editorial, head over heels to get Doc Ock back into his old body and just make him a villain again. By the way,
Right.
to some fantastic stories. This has been fantastic to see Doc Ock just doing nothing. But I don't know. I feel like this is a great idea, but it's like it was a great idea 5 years ago. You
Right.
know, like why did you do any of those things then if you were just going to bring it back, especially with Dan Slott on the book?
I
Um,
will say the fact that it has been a good amount of time, I think will help them with this one.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
feel like it's sometimes they take something out of the spotlight, like they just remove it, but then they come back with it a year later, like
yeah.
maybe even less than that. But like you said, it's been a good 5 years
It's
since
been
the
a
last
while.
Superior Spider-Man that I feel like this is going to get people to go, oh, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I haven't seen anything about it recently.
Yeah,
Let's see what happens because a lot has happened since then in the entire Marvel universe.
that's true.
And like, it would be interesting to see Superior Spider-Man in a world where it's like, oh, hey, yeah, uh, X-Men can resurrect people now. We just had the Eternals have a god that like because you know
Judged
that
everybody. Yeah,
exactly, and you know that he's gonna have knowledge of a lot of these different things that have gone on
yeah.
because that's just
Hell,
who he is, and
wouldn't it be cool to see that like the impetus behind this was like Doc Ock presumably was judged just like everybody else.
ooh,
maybe he succeeded. And it's like, because he was the superior Spider-Man. He's like, well, then I gotta go
Yeah.
back to that.
That I think would be amazing if it was Doc Ock being judged and the judgment led to him deciding he needs to be Superior Spider-Man again.
The
Like
only
that
time I'm ever
was
worthy, right? Like, that'd
oh,
be cool. Yeah.
that would be super cool.
And there's an opportunity here, and Dan Slott doing it kind of gives the book its cachet, because like
Mhm.
the interim series, it sold fine, and it had a good creative team, but you know, it won more Dade, which is like, why would you do that? So, I mean, I'm excited for them. Like, this for me makes the most financial sense. Like, as a business owner, I'm kind
Right.
of like, oh, good idea. If only you'd done it sooner. But will I read it? Maybe. Depends on who's drawing it.
That's true. Like art with Spider-Man, I've learned with the Amazing Spider-Man right now can really affect how you view it. Because 'cause
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of, the Amazing Spider-Man art. I like the
Right.
regular Spider-Man, but just doesn't
No.
feel
No. No. I don't think anybody is like praising the art on Amazing Spider-Man right now.
right.
Moving on. I saw this. This is the first time I'm hearing of this, but apparently the new Captain America movie, New World Order, has been changed. The title has been completely redone,
Mhm.
and it is now going to be Brave New World.
I don't know. I think this was actually just announced this morning. It
There you go.
like, it's something like that, and frankly, I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner, because when I
Yeah.
hear New World Order, I
Yep.
don't think hopeful, I think dictator taking over.
Yeah, but Brave New World makes me think of the like Orwellian novel Brave New World, which is like more about dystopias, which I mean makes sense to me. Also, of course, the image that you linked to, by the way, not only does it showcase the backs of their chairs saying Captain America: Brave New World, but it also shows that Anthony Mackie's Captain America is wearing a very different costume.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing that it's not so much they threw the baby out with the bathwater, but this is like a Captain America, uh, what was the Winter Soldier stealth suit
Mm.
that he's wearing. But yeah, man, I don't know what to think about this. My concern, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this, but my concern about it is this. Them shifting the title this late in the game
Mhm.
says to me that Marvel hasn't learned anything. Because one of the biggest problems that Marvel has right now, Marvel Studios that
Mhm.
is that they are too willing to change things on a dime. That they are so reliant on how much money they have and how much influence they have that they can,
Mm.
bully animation studios and art houses. It's frustrating to me that they're like in a place where they go, yeah, well, we could change the title like right now, because if they're willing to change the whole damn title like this far into the process, and admittedly, there's a famous example of this working out great called Star Wars, where
Oh, that's
Revenge
right.
of the Jedi was the original title of Return of the Jedi, and then somebody, it was probably George, as I believe, was like, you know what, actually, Jedi don't really take revenge. Maybe it should be Return of the Jedi. End of story. And that's why you could buy like Revenge of the Jedi like posters and stuff, because it was that far into the process. But for me, it says that Marvel is still willing to go like, when does the movie come out? 6 weeks from now? Change the ending completely,
Yeah, that's
which we don't need. That is the worst sin that Marvel's been committing outside
right.
of their like business practices and treatment of CG studios. But otherwise, other than that, other than like the human suffering they cause, the problem is the fact that they don't commit to a story.
Yeah. No,
Because of course,
I will
what do you
fully
say?
agree with that. Like the entirety, because like they even changed up the Falcon and Winter Soldier show,
Yes,
because that one, I mean, I can pseudo understand just because, okay, they were looking to basically cause the pandemic, was, I
right.
believe, the original story. So that one is a little bit more relevant. And it's like, I can understand that, but like you said, the changing of endings a couple weeks before the movie comes out, like, no. Like, commit to a story, because the more, like you said, the more you change it, the less faith I have in your story, because
Yeah.
it becomes more of a, is the improv gonna be good this time? Like,
Probably
what's
not.
going on here?
Yeah, it's not like they're hiring, Bill Hader to help punch up the dialogue. Like
Right,
they're improv. These are serious actors who want to be in Snowpiercer movies. They don't want to be, riffing. They're not members of the Upright Citizens Brigade here.
right.
Although, okay, so a little bit deeper digging suggests that apparently New World Order may also have been, while it was the title of a Captain America comic book that also signified the debut of Sam Wilson as Captain America. Great comic, pick it up, fantastic art. But that New World Order is a dog whistle for white supremacists.
That's honestly that kinda, yeah, I
And
can
that's
see
the
it.
real problem, is that like they changed it because they don't want anyone to misconstrue that, like, we have this black lead as Captain America, but secretly we're all about whites, like some kind of creepy, weird, insane interpretation. Although, you know I'm from an older school of like thought where, I remember this old adage that even the conservative right used to tout, which was, um, if you let them do that, the terrorists win.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you change things because you're worried that like white supremacists or Nazis are gonna like take a cue from it, I mean, sounds like they've already kind of got the ball, don't you? Like, not that they're like
Right.
in charge, but certainly that like they have more power over you. I mean, just the name of the comic book is New World Order. Why change it now? Uh, and I need to find like a. I wonder if there is a Captain America Brave New World comic book, but again, it is innocuous. The change is innocuous overall. Like, I'm not offended, but I'm also kind of like, if you're changing the title because you're worried that it's gonna like give a wink and a nod to the worst version of people.
Right.
I mean, like, I guess there's worse reasons to change a title.
Yeah, and I will say at least they're doing this one a year out. Like,
Mhm.
it's not like it's same
It's not like
year or
weeks
anything.
away. That's true.
Exactly. It's coming out next May, so
We got
we
time.
do have some time. We haven't seen really anything from the movie, so it's not like we're going, "Hey, we've had a couple trailers from New World Order, and now all of a sudden it's changed." Like, luckily, we don't have that.
Yeah.
I will say I actually didn't know about the Orwell novel about,
It
Brave New
wasn't Orwell, by
World.
the way. It was Orwellian. It was,
Oh, okay,
oh god, it
sorry.
was like Huxley, I think. But anyway.
Either way, like, I haven't heard of that or read it. So when I hear Brave New World versus New World Order, it
Mhm.
Brave New World feels more free,
Yeah.
whereas New World Order sounds more controlling.
Aggressive? Yes.
And aggressive, exactly. And so I
Yeah.
feel like it fits Captain America a bit more, as well as like it fits Brave New World fits in a couple ways because everything's new.
Yeah.
But like we everything really is new. We've got a new Captain America. We've got the new status quo from everything from Endgame and all of that. So like
That's true.
it feels like it kind of fits more, and it feels more like a, this is what's out there.
I kinda like that.
Like,
Yeah, that's a
enjoy
great
it.
interpretation of it. Yeah, I dig that a lot. It's like almost like they're finally like lassoing the beast that is the MCU and saying, "Yes, this is the direction." Like,
Mhm.
we are in a brave new world of Marvel now. Like, and
Exactly.
we're addressing it, because it's like phase 4. What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, nothing. It never meant anything. So it's like Brave New World. Like, you could almost call that this is what the end, like the name of the era. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a great point.
So
So, yeah, God, I hate hearing about this. Madam Web producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura talks about the upcoming Madam Web movie, explaining the movie is going to be the origin story of the character finally, and will show who she was before the comics and how she became that character. Thank the living God that we get to see the origin film of what Madam Web was all about. You guys love and know Madam Web, right? The geriatric blind woman that sat in a spider chair and tormented Peter Parker in that cartoon show from literally 30 years ago? No? Well,
is
then
it
strap in. No, I'm just saying
Didn't they,
she
like, make her young again in the more
they
recent
did.
ones?
They did. She's Julia Carpenter now. They killed
That's right.
her. They murdered her in Grim Hunt and then replaced her with Julia Carpenter, a redundant Spider-Woman. They were
Mm,
like, "You know what? I don't know what to do with this. We got Jessica Drew, we got Julia Carpenter, we got Maddie Franklin, we got all these Spider-Women. One's a Madam Web now. Nobody cares about the old woman. Get her out of here. People
right.
people even think she's Aunt May. Get out of here. Forget about it. And now we're gonna make a movie about it. Cool.
This would the reason why I put this one on here is because first off, it's from the SSU, which they're calling it, which I believe is the
Ah, yes.
Sony Spider-Man universe.
Correct.
Awesome, love it. Anyway, the I liked this news because it it says that they're going with comic accurate stuff. It's not like Craven where every single time I hear something I'm like that's not
Not even close.
Craven. Like
Yeah.
Craven's not an environmentalist. He's a hunter.
Yeah.
He goes to hunt things because he wants the challenge. Like that's who he is. He's not out there fighting for the world. Like that's just
Yeah.
not the character. So this one I kind of like that. It'll be interesting if they go with the original Madam Web or the new Julia Carpenter
Yeah.
because of the fact that she is the relevant one in comics right now that
Right.
I feel like they might lean into that, but because it's not Marvel directly, it really could go either way.
Yeah.
Um,
That's I've seen more like not footage, but images of that of Madam Web than I have of Captain America Brave New World.
yeah,
There's a picture of like all the girls running around under like under a subway overpass or something, and I'm like, yeah, this movie, the Madam Web movie, is going to be about a cadre of female spider people who are trying to save the Spider Verse or something. It's like
right.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm surprised that Madam Web isn't in Across the Spider Verse, but maybe she'll be in Beyond the Spider Verse. Uh, it's interesting to me that like Sony is going in this direction because honestly, it suggests some kind of coordination and planning that
Mhm.
I would have not given Sony the benefit of the doubt on. So I'm kind of amazed that we're even getting it. But yeah, great. We get an origin story from Madam Web, and then of course don't forget about El Muerto and Venom 3 and Craven and Morbius 2, even more Morbin. And yeah, I'm just like, stick to Spider-Verse movies. Like
Right.
make cartoons. You guys seem to be really on lockdown with that. It's the only one that's won you an Oscar.
Mhm. I kinda like the idea of this leading into Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like, it'd be interesting if this led into the Madam Web going to the Great Web,
Yes.
and, like, her universe gets destroyed somehow, and that's how they explain her going and becoming a cartoon so that they can use her in the next Spider-Verse. Because thinking about it,
Yeah,
Madam Web or Web Weaver, any of those would be perfect for the Spider-Verse movies because they're
totally.
talking about the fact that these canon events unraveled basically the different universes. And we've
Yeah.
got two characters whose sole purpose is to basically maintain the web. So it would be a cool integration. I don't see it happening because of how soon Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be
Mhm.
versus the
Yeah.
Madam Web. But I mean, who knows? This one, all I'm thankful for is that at least they're trying to do something more comic accurate as
Yeah.
opposed to the Craven situation.
Yes. Supposedly, Julia Carpenter is a different character, and Dakota Johnson's playing Madam Web, the original Madam Web,
Oh, okay.
or a young version of the old Madam Web.
Oh, maybe
But
it's
yeah,
a passing of the torch kind of thing.
I'll bet it is. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. It's frustrating to see, because Sony is pretty terrible at this, but manages to have more slam dunks. I mean, like everyone's like, man, what's the best Phase 4 movie? No Way Home, which is kind of a
Yeah.
Sony movie.
That
What's
they're
the best
killing
comic book
it on
movie?
the Spider-Man movies lately. Like,
When Spider Man's in them, they're
yeah,
nailing it.
exactly.
So maybe they should stick to that. Actor Oscar Isaac has made Marvel history by portraying three separate Marvel characters in major roles. Hell, three different Marvel properties from three different rival studios.
Yep.
He played En Sabinur, aka Apocalypse, in the 2016 Fox X-Men movie. He played Moon Knight in the Disney Plus show, and he is Miguel O'Hara in the Sony Spider-Man 2099 in Across the Spider-Verse. Congratulations, man. He is now among a noble few. You know, he's like Bill Paxton, who was killed by an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator.
It's
Congratulations.
yeah, I included this because the guy's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, no one can say that he's not.
No,
Like
he was
most
dealt a
things that I've
bad
seen.
hand with Apocalypse. That's not his fault.
Exactly. And
You know?
I just really liked this because it's awesome to see, but it's also nice seeing the hopeful nature of, hey, look, those characters that played something in a different Marvel universe, essentially,
Yeah.
we can still use them.
Yes, he could.
Like-
Yeah, he could be. He could be. Well, I mean, you know, if he had portrayed an iconic Apocalypse, you know, if he had been like the Thanos equivalent of the X-Men Fox universe, it would be harder, right? If he was like
Right.
like the way Ian McKellen is Magneto, you know, it'd be like, oh, well, we can never really use Ian McKellen in anything else. Um, all I'm now.
I would
feel like
actually disagree with that just because the fact that Josh Brolin was both Thanos and Cable.
Cable, that's true. And people liked him as Cable. It wasn't like
Yeah.
he failed at Cable, so it's okay for him to be Thanos. No, you're right.
Like
right.
they're significantly different in terms of look. Like Apocalypse completely blue. You can't like you don't confuse that.
Nope.
It's easier to make it clear that they're very different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now all he needs to do is play Ragman in the DC universe, and he can just run the gamut.
I'll be honest that I could see him rocking that role.
Right? No, and you know, freaking James Gunn's ears are burning. He's like, "Did you say that you want to see Ragman on screen? Because I love Ragman. Let's do it."
Quick side note with that, I am actually surprised, and if he did announce this, I missed it, that James Gunn didn't go, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna do a Justice League Dark."
Right? Well, I mean, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to go with this, but apparently Guillermo del Toro was going to make a Justice League Dark movie, and because Guillermo del Toro was going to make it, obviously it was never going to happen, and of course it didn't. But the plan had been Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark. I think that there's rumblings of a Justice League Dark show.
Oh, I could see that.
Or
I feel like that could work pretty well. Kind of do like a supernatural style show
Yeah.
with the Justice League Dark. That'd be kind of cool.
I would love to see. I mean, I'm down, you know, but I want to see like I want to see an Avengers style approach to that, because I think that like, I mean, even if you want to do like, you know, because what I hope is the trend, because you know you got Matt Reeves as the Batman running parallel to this, and the DC's plan for Batman is Brave and the Bold, Batman and Son.
Mhm.
I would love it if the DC Cinematic Universe Batman movies were under the Brave and the Bold title, and each Batman movie was Batman paired with a character who couldn't support their own movie. So
Mhm.
it's like it'd be Brave and the Bold Batman and Son, Batman and Robin, Brave and the Bold Batman and Green Arrow, you know, Brave and the Bold Batman and Dead Man, you know, something where it's like, and so it introduces you to the like other side, because rather than lose your shirt on a Zatanna movie, you make Batman and Brave and the Bold Batman and Zatanna. You know,
Mhm.
you could probably get away with making like a $50 million Constantine movie. You know, Swamp Thing is getting his own movie, so you're already halfway there. Hell, if you put, I'm sure Constantine will appear in the Swamp Thing movie, so you don't even need to do the Constantine movie. But you put the demon Etrigan into like into the Zatanna movie, and now you've got everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're off to the races. Now make the Justice League Dark movie. I wish that the Justice League Dark had a better name. Like, I know that they're called Justice League for marketing purposes, but like Justice League doesn't pull in the shekels quite like Avengers, you know, when it comes to like brand recognition. I know people comic book fans like, no, Justice League has been around longer and it's bigger and it has the most important and most iconic superheroes on it. That's true. But I don't think that like calling anything Justice League works. And I think that's because I come from a time when there was Justice League Task Force, Justice League International, Justice League Europe, Justice League Antarctica. Like there were so many Justice Leagues, it kind of like diminished the brand. Of course, that's ironic too, because Avengers, Savage Avengers, Mighty Avengers, New Avengers,
West Coast
Avengers. So really, there's no rhyme or reason why any of them are successful. But I feel like Justly Dark that team deserves like a name for themselves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because it's just so cool. Because nothing about them screams Justice League to me. I think they should just be like something cool. Like there's a team from Marvel called like the Dark Stalkers. Something like that has like a really cool name that's like
Right.
you distinctly about magic. But
'Cause the only Justice League thing related to them is the fact that Batman put it together. That he's like,
right, or
"Alright,
the
we
Wonder
need to
Woman
do."
joins it sometimes.
Or what exactly, like, I don't know what the problem with Magic, I feel, is it's hard coming up with a good name.
Yeah. Well,
I
because it's always got some like gobbledygooks around it. Like you could call it like Naboo's, you connect it to Doctor Fate or like the Lords of Chaos and Destiny. I think, or there's some kind of name there. But again, they're not lords.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing the name that came to mind for me was The Covenant, just because for or The Coven or something like that, it's got a
right.
group of mystical
Magic
beings.
users.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
side tangent that I just thought of in the middle
No,
of that.
totally. Yeah. Lords of Order and Chaos. Again, I like it, but I feel like that's too aggrandizing. But then again, what isn't? So, yeah. Moving on. DC Comics to follow in Marvel's footsteps by adding legacy numbering to all long-running DC Comics series, giving comics the run number alongside the legacy number. Finally,
Yeah.
good.
I am shocked that this has not happened sooner because they
Yeah,
even have it on, I believe Flash and Wonder Woman went back to the
yes,
legacy numbering, and everything else they decided not to. So they found the compromise of doing the Marvel method of, I believe like Batman 136, and then beneath it says Legacy 900, and
yes.
it's going to do that for the rest of it, where it's
Well,
the number of
and
the series, legacy, and it's like good, because you always do those random anniversary big issues that everyone's just like, "Where did this come from? We're on
absolutely.
36. How are we now on 900? What the
Yeah.
hell?"
Well, now that being said, all of the legacy numbering that's being applied are for books that will hit 1,000 in less than 10 years. So
That's
it's like,
true.
yeah, no, we're just gearing up to the 1,000 issues of every single one of these books. But I like it. The reason, and it's so petty and pure, it's because Marvel does it. That's why
Yeah.
they didn't do it before. It's the reason why DC doesn't have those full page descriptors about what's going on. Those context pages
Oh,
that Marvel puts in?
yeah. Like the
Yeah.
summary of
Where it's
what
like
happened
previously
last
in.
time. Yeah,
Yes. The reason why DC doesn't do it? Because Marvel does it.
I could see that.
That was why. And I can say that now because the guy who told them not to use them doesn't work there anymore. To
That I
Marvel,
mean,
they said, quote, "To
actually,
Marvel."
it's interesting because with that guy being gone, I wonder if we will
I would hope they
potentially
come
start
back.
seeing those front pages. I would love
They
a summary.
God knows they could use it.
Yeah.
Like every book at DC could use an effing page that says what happened in the last issue.
Mhm.
I appreciate that like every comic is somebody's first and like jumping in both feet first in the deep end is like a good way to do it, and it's when I was a kid I never had those, but like let me tell you how helpful those effing things are.
They really are, especially when you read multiple comics each week, or it's a comic that has different, like Batman. There's
Yeah.
so many different Batman stories that it would be nice to just have hey, by the way, this is the Batman that you're reading right
Oh,
now.
thank you. Oh, I thought that was the thing from like when he was fighting Mr. Freeze, but no, this is the one where he's fighting Man Bat. Thank you. Okay,
Exactly.
I'm back. Like it makes perfect sense. That's something that should be an industry standard.
It really should be.
But yeah, I'm glad to see that they're bringing it back. At the very least, for books that they're ready to celebrate, like whatever the word is that is like a centennial, but for 1,000. And Kelly Thompson announces that she is going to be writing the new Birds of Prey story at DC Comics and plans to create a whole new team around the leadership of Black Canary. I think that's a great creative team, or at least Kelly Thompson's a great pick for
Yeah.
Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey should be a book that comes out. It's a fine book. It looks like Leonardo Romero is doing the art, and he worked with her on Hawkeye,
Mhm.
and so good. It's about time.
Yeah, I saw this and I like the look of it just because Birds of Prey, it's been out of the spotlight for a very long time. Occasionally showed up during the Batman Urban Legends run where
Yes.
they had a couple really random team members, but it was fun seeing Birds of Prey that wasn't the original.
Yes.
I always enjoy when they revive teams with one or two original members, but the
Yep.
rest of it is new characters because you get different dynamics, you get new characters, you get new stories, and you never have to go, "Oh, this is like that other one where they did this exact same thing, and I know
Exactly.
where it's probably gonna go." So,
Yeah. I do know that Cassandra Cain will be on this Birds of Prey.
oh, good.
So that's one official confirmation from Kelly
Okay.
Thompson on Twitter. She's like, "Yeah, Cassie will be on this team."
Yeah.
Good use of her. Great idea, and like I love the idea of Dinah forming a team, especially because of her links to the previous iteration. And yeah, it sounds like a great idea. And Kelly Thompson's a good writer. I loved her Black Widow.
Yeah, Kelly Thompson has been knocking it out of the park lately. Like, she's one of the Kelly Thompson and Tom Taylor are, and Jed McKay.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are 3 writers that if I see them on a book, I will pick it up and try it at the very least. Like,
totally.
they are trustworthy writers to give you good stuff.
Yep.
So,
Yep, that's true. They're always worth at least a like a sight unseen blind read. Give it a try.
exactly.
That's great, man.
But,
Any other secret bonus episode or to stuff you want to mention or
not really. That's kind of everything that I found. Nothing else really stuck out, unfortunately. And I wish I was able to read the comics this week because
me too.
the newest Dark Knights of Steel dropped, as well as John Kent Superman, and I want to see what's going on with him and Injustice
Mhm.
Superman.
Yeah,
So
me
I'm kind
too.
of bummed that I wasn't able to talk about that, but
Did
maybe
you
next time.
read did you know when or how many issues Dark Knights of Steel is going to be? Because I assume it's 12.
I'm pretty sure it's the last I remember it was a 12 issue maxi series.
Okay,
So
cool. Because I read it and then it had this really weird inconsistent release schedule, and I was like, I'm not going to read this until it's done.
yeah.
Like I just dropped the book, but I'm like, I like what's going on, but I can't wait these like random periods that aren't consistent. I'll just wait until it's over.
I feel like there was some sort of delay in the middle because they also went, I think like 6 issues, then all of a sudden they went, "Hey, here's some weird tie-ins
Yes.
about like the Batman rogues being in an orphanage or something."
Yeah, and I'm like, what is this? It was like
Yeah.
DC versus Vampires or whatever, where I'm like, what is this? Like when is this coming out? And then there was like that was during the Comixology switch over to Amazon, so it was impossible to read. And I was
Yes.
like, "Ugh," I dropped a lot of books because of Amazon's Comixology nonsense. But
No kidding.
yeah, but and that's funny because of course DC vs Vampires feels like a Tom Taylor book, but just straight up isn't. But yeah, man. Well, there you have it. We want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and of course, follow us on twitch.tv /comic story. And if you want to watch us live here on Tuesdays around 5:30 or around 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, check out our sponsor, Gamer Subs. All the descriptions and information are in the description below this video. Thank you, Dan, for being here. Thank you to Benny. Hopefully, he will be feeling well soon. And if you are going to be in the San Diego area this July, we're going to San Diego Comic Con. So hopefully, we'll see you there. That's it for us here at Absolutely Marvel in DC /Absolute Comics.